Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Kathy Schmitz, Executive Director of the Vilas County Economic Development Corporation. Today, you'll have a chance to ask the experts about business taxes, grants, and loans, where you'll learn practical information from a CPA, experienced bankers, and loan specialists who will answer your questions and share what you need to know to make confident financial decisions for your business. Our four panelists today are John Chamberlain, CPA, co-owner of Chamberlain Ott CPAs in Lake Geneva, and John is the board treasurer for the Vilas County Economic Development Corporation. Also joining us is Aaron McCormick, commercial banker, People's Bank, and board member, Vilas County Economic Development Corporation. And thirdly, Dustin Peterson. Dustin is the business banking relationship manager with Associated Bank. And also joining us is Tom Fish, Director of Finance for Redevelopment Resources. And Tom is also with Central Wisconsin Economic Development Fund. Before we begin, we extend our special thanks to Associated Bank for their generous support of this program and who support small business and our mission to build a strong, resilient Northwoods economy. And so what questions do you have for John, Aaron, Dustin, and Tom? Please put them in the chat and we'll answer them right after their remarks. So John, we'll start with you. Take it away.
All righty. A for accountant, so I get to go first. Hope everybody's enjoying the lovely sunny day out there today. I'm a little bit further south, but that doesn't do a whole lot of good for me. Our temperatures are in single digits too, but it has a plus sign in front of it instead of a minus sign. But just as a way of introduction, like Kathy said, I am part owner of the accounting firm of Chamberlain and Oddie. Our primary office is in Lake Geneva, but I do spend about half my time up in Sainer, so I can easily work from both locations. We do offer tax preparation, consulting, planning for businesses, individuals, nonprofits, and so forth, as well as doing audits and reviewed financial statements for school districts, homeowners associations, and various other entities. So that is my background. What I guess I would like to start with, as everybody knows, just recently the One Big Beautiful Bill passed. And most of what that entailed were making things from the 2017 bill permanent, or as permanent as they can be until someone else comes in and decides to change them. But the biggest changes in there, or one of the things that was made permanent in that bill, was the qualified income business deduction, where S corporations, Schedule Cs for proprietors, partnerships that have a business do get a 20% deduction on their personal return from that income in calculating their taxes. One of the other things that was in that bill was an increase in the 1099 threshold, where it used to be you had to issue a 1099 to any of your subcontractors, anybody doing services for you. If you paid them more than $600, you had to issue them a 1099. Now it's $2,000 and will be indexed for inflation going forward. So pertinent information for people in the process of getting information ready for their 1099s that are due by the end of the month. And a couple other things that were kind of impact both individuals and businesses. The first one is no tax on tips, up to $25,000 per year per taxpayer. There are phase outs on that based upon your adjusted gross income. And then the other item is no tax on overtime up to $12,500 per year per taxpayer. There are also phase outs on that, similar to what there are on the no tax on tips. And the amount that you can exclude is just the half of the time and a half. So if you're making $20 an hour, you get paid $30 an hour when you're working overtime. It's just that $10 an hour that you're able to get the deduction for. And then as far as reporting for 2025 goes, there is no mandatory reporting on the W-2s for that, but certainly employers have the option of including that amount in box 14 on the W-2s or attaching a letter, note, whatever the case may be, with the employee's W-2 showing what their uh, overtime income was during the year that they can take the deduction for. A couple other things that are hanging out there is the electronic payments, both to the government and from the government. Most of the employers are well used to, I'm sure, of paying all their payroll taxes via electronic filing uh, system with the IRS, the EFTPS, or the My Tax account through the state of Wisconsin for all your payroll taxes. But that will be ultimately impacting the individuals as well. All refunds for the 25 taxes that you're filing shortly will have to come through direct deposit. So, for the most part, people do get that direct deposited, but there are still some people, that do not choose to do that, but they will be required to do so for 25. Also, they are talking about making you make your payments to the government for your individual taxes via, electronic means, but nothing has been finalized on that. So that's all I've got for now. Anxiously awaiting your questions.
Okay, so if you do have any questions for John, please put them in the chat. And after all the speakers are done, we will get to your questions. So next up, we'll go to Aaron McCormick with People's Bank.
Yeah, good everyone. And if we're following the alphabet, B is for banker. So I guess I'd go second. Hey, John. So just an introduction of myself. So my name's Aaron McCormick. I'm a commercial banker with People's State Bank. My office is in Eagle River, so in Vilas County. And I cover primarily Minocqua, Eagle River, everything northern Wisconsin. So many of you are probably familiar with People's State Bank, but for those of you that are not, People's State Bank was founded in 1962. It was founded in Wausau for the purpose of serving the financial needs of the business owners, their employees, and their families. A community bank is basically a bank that's locally owned and operated. We have a more defined market area per se. So with People's State Bank, we have a broad area we service. We service all of Wisconsin and the bordering states, which would include Illinois and Minnesota. But we particularly emphasize and focus on the markets within which we have branches. So People's State Bank does have representation from Southeast Wisconsin up to Northern Wisconsin. It's a total of 12 branches. And in the Northern Wisconsin markets, we have 3 branches, Eagle River, Minocqua, and Rhinelander. Some of the stuff we do, we do most everything. Most banks offer similar products. What really differentiates banks from each other are, the products and services, but really the relationships they have with their bankers. But just to put it out there for you, the types of loans that we offer, we do the commercial real estate. We deal with equipment and vehicles and term loans. We have lines of credit. We partner with the SBA and we originate 7A and 504 loans. And we also work with really all businesses. So in my time with People's State Bank as a commercial lender, I work with startups, which may appeal to some of you on the call here. Startups are brand new businesses, don't have financials, so we deal with projections. We've been very successful in helping that market. But we also work with existing business owners, commercial, industrial, retail, hospitality, all the trades, all the service industries, and pretty much any business. We can find a way to do it. I would also tell you that we're also very collaborative. Banking's a big sandbox, and if you're in it long enough, like I've been, you get to know and understand most everybody. We play very well in the sandbox together. We have some very good collaborative partnerships with the Entrepreneur Fund, CWED, which you're going to hear from Tom, but also work closely with the business resource organizations that many of you maybe are also using, such as the Vilas County Economic Development, the SBRC, and WEDC. Before I turn it over to the next speaker, just a brief history of myself. So I have been in banking for quite a long time. It's going on 30 plus years. Most recently in 2023, graduated from the Graduate School of Banking in Madison. So that's an executive level program designed for banking executives to understand and run the business of banking. Just like you as a business owner need to know and understand your business to run it, operate effectively. Same for bankers. Over the 30 years, I pretty much have done it all. I'm in commercial now, but I've been in senior leadership, worked in residential, been on the investment side, retail banking, consumer lending, collections, pretty much all of that. And when you look at banks that I've worked for large banks, I've worked for community banks like People's State Bank, I've worked for credit unions. So from my knowledge and experience, I have a very good broad understanding of how kind of each financial institution works and functions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Aaron. On to our next banker, Dustin Peterson with Associated Bank. Dustin?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So glad you could join us, and thanks again to Vilas County for having me on here to talk to everyone. So a little bit about myself. As Kathy had shared in the beginning, my name is Dustin Peterson. I'm a business banking relationship manager at Associated Bank. To not pit the two banks against each other here, as far as what we do, we're all here to answer questions, and kudos to Aaron for sharing a lot of things and about the relationship based focus of banking. And I have a list of things that I'm going to share, but that is the number one thing that I want to reiterate to everyone. Having somebody that you can know and trust and call, and is sometimes going to be that kind of tough friend, that maybe gives you a little bit of feedback that's hard to hear every once in a while, or maybe you don't want to hear, but it is doing it for your best interest. I encourage everyone for that. Associated Bank as it stands. So while not specifically a community bank, we are the largest Wisconsin-based headquartered bank, and recently have announced an acquisition and expanding into the Nebraska area. So Omaha, Nebraska, with some branches in Iowa and Minnesota. We are in Missouri now, Illinois, Wisconsin. So a really good footprint, and kind of that not quite large national bank, but we like to say we have all the services and products of a large national bank, but bringing home that kind of community bank feel with more centralized markets. So we have a program what's called Community Markets, which is what I'm part of, where our smaller rural markets are overseen by a market president, which basically is a more local decision-making authority. And that expands my footprint a little further than what Aaron's is. I'm out of the Wausau office here, but I help cover the Northwoods and the central part of Wisconsin, solely focused on business banking now. And that's from a deposit standpoint, a lending standpoint, and a partner introduction standpoint. And so from that perspective, I kind of organize my notes for this call into three sections. I find a lot of times we have businesses that are kind of all at different stages of their journey. From starting out, where you need deposit accounts, you need your online banking set up, you need a consultative team, you need potential lending opportunities. And as Aaron said, we partner with SBA. We have our own SBA department right within the bank that is express verified. So our underwriting standards are good enough to meet the SBA standards, and we just need to do the additional documentation to get those loans through. Fraud protection. How do you receive your payments? How do you get your cash when you're making a transaction? There's all kinds of new stuff nowadays, but merchant processing, different lending options. So that's actually, we have a merchant processing partner in Clover that allows lending right through that system. So we know sometimes, as Aaron said, startups can need to find financing in creative ways, and that's one we offer along with partnering with SBA. And then after you have all those basics, your business is kind of moving to the next tier, and that's you're growing, you're maximizing your efficiencies, and you're trying to figure out what are your next steps. And that's where your more traditional lending programs come in, whether it's a line of credit for cash flow or inventory, equipment, term loans, real estate loans, all of those things. And then where Associated Bank likes to differentiate there is we have essentially three levels of lending, I like to call it. So we have what we call a flex lending program, and we have a community uplift program, which is really focused for businesses with $1 million in revenue or less. And it's a quicker process. Think online application, typing information in, basic financial review of bank statements and things like that to look at a loan opportunity. And then we move into a traditional, which is more of your 2-year, 3-year financial review. And then beyond that, we have what's our commercial program, which is your actual full-on traditional custom underwriting, where we look at the business as a whole and develop unique custom-made underwriting specifics for that business and what they're trying to accomplish. And then from there, we also have on the deposit side treasury management services, so foreign exchange, account sweeps to help with FDIC coverage. Once your bank accounts start going above 250,000, everyone starts worrying, what do I do in case something happens? We have all those products and protections. And then the last one is really thinking about employees. And from an associate bank standpoint, we have a couple of things that I really like and what we partner with. So we have an HSA program. It's a national provider for HSA accounts. So as you're thinking about benefits and what you offer your employees, we have an internal HSA program where your employees can get on an HSA. We can partner with you, get them logged in. They have investment options, amazing things like that. We have our own 401k program. So benefits, retirement. So you can offer that. We have different plans and programs that we can establish with businesses. And then we actually just offer a community investment. I kind of call it as workplace financial solutions, where we actually come in and offer for our local bankers to work with employees and talk about budgeting and home ownership and all of those different things that we can actually help your employees get better with their own personal finances, so they're not bringing them to work. So I know that is a lot. And the reality goes back to what Aaron said. A bank can offer all those really cool and amazing things, and we're there to talk about them, but it's really about meeting the right person and having a quarterback to help you, direct you in the ways and pass the ball around to meet those things. So appreciate the time and looking forward to questions.
Yeah, thank you, Dustin, and all great thoughts. We're all very fortunate to have so many wonderful banking, partnerships and relationships in Vilas County and up here in the Northwoods. So, thank you for that. Next up, we'll move over to Tom Fish with CWED.
Hi, everybody. I'm here representing the Central Wisconsin Economic Development Fund. We are a gap financing fund that operates in 10 counties throughout north central Wisconsin. Starting from kind of the south going up, Adams, Juneau, Wood, Portage, Marathon, Lincoln, Langlade, Oneida, Vilas, and Forest counties are the 10 counties that we can operate in. That doesn't mean that, if your business is headquartered outside of those counties, you'd be ineligible. But if the use of the funds is inside of our 10 counties, this where the money is being spent, it can be eligible. We have 3 loan programs that we offer currently right now. We have a gap fund that we can offer up to $1 million in a single transaction from CWED, but we can't exceed 40% of a total project. That gap fund has to be in a partnership with a lead lending institution, and we do require a 10% borrower's down payment in that program. Right now, that program, we're between 3 and 5% in our interest rate, which is really driving traffic for us right now. Obviously the bankers on the call know that, current interest rates right now are significantly higher than that. So utilizing CWED in that gap is an attractive opportunity to partner with the bank, because it helps the bank lower their risk level. It also lowers the cash flow need for the business when the interest rate's lower. So a lot of good benefits to utilizing that program. We also have a micro loan program that we can lend directly without a bank participant up to $75,000. This program is more targeted at smaller businesses that have equipment needs or working capital needs. Not as much on the real estate purchase used for that micro loan. Startup Loan Fund is our 3rd program. We can go up to $35,000 in that program. That program is targeted specifically at businesses that are within their first 3 years of operation, and they have a full business plan, 3 years financial projections. That program has to be vetted through the representative or a representative in your county for CWED. So Kathy would be the connection on that fund. If you want to apply for that startup fund and you have your packet together, run it by Kathy, and she'll put her sign off on it that she wants that to go towards the CWED approval. That startup fund, we have the flexibility. We're between 1 and 3% on that. Very short term. It's a 3-year term and AM in the startup program. For our gap fund and our micro loan fund, our terms will match the use of the funds. So if we're doing a real estate transaction, we'll typically do a 10-year term with a 20-year amortization. If we're doing working capital or an equipment purchase, we'll match the useful life of the equipment, or we won't go higher than 7 years on working capital. None of our debt is revolving. So if the business is looking for working capital needs that on a revolving basis, month to month, reach out to Dustin or Aaron for those, revolving needs. A lot of the concerns that we have when it comes to our proposals or our requests that come through is collateral. I know that, the bankers on here will attest to collateral being an issue sometimes, especially with the trickier deals. When CWED's involved, it's usually a trickier deal and the collateral is always a sticking point. We're comfortable being in a junior position to the lead banker, but we also need to have some collateral if there is any. So there will be questions about, what additional collateral you could provide, if the purchase itself or the transaction itself isn't sufficient. Some other notes that I have here, kind of our process. We get an application in. Typically, it comes from a banker, but sometimes the applicants will apply directly or through the economic development person in their region. Will put us in our direction. The proposal gets put together, gets sent out to a loan committee. We have a loan committee made up of 6 bankers throughout the region. They review it. If it's under $300,000, the loan committee can approve it and they can close the next day. If it's over $300,000, it has to go to our board for approval, and that is the 3rd Wednesday of every month. Just, to get a head, wrap your head around the timelines that we're working with. Typically, in years past, I've presented CWED. I've said that our flexibility and our quick response is one of our benefits. Right now, we're kind of in a backlog of deals, so we're looking at about 8 weeks out from an application coming in to where we'd have an answer to a borrower. So, if you're planning on looking at CWED, make sure you have time in your timeline to get that done. One note, we don't offer technical assistance through CWED. We're a true lender. Once you come to us, we hope that you're ready for financing. If you're not, though, I will send you in the direction of plenty of resources that we have in our area, the SBDC, the E-Fund, the Vilas County Economic Development. There's a ton of resources to help you with that business planning side of things and the technical assistance to get you ready for financing. That's just not something that we do at CWED. But we're, looking around, with Dustin and Aaron, I know that we've worked with People's State Bank several times. Associated, I don't know if we've had a deal yet with them, but CWED works well with all the different capital stacking partners in the region. And if you have any questions, reach out. That's all I have.
Great, Tom, thank you. So everyone, that's a lot of information in a short amount of time. So this is your opportunity now to ask any questions that you have of any of our panelists here. So let's start. I know we have one submitted anyway from Lynn. Lynn states that she submitted her 2024 tax information to her accountant on February 27th. She doesn't have them back yet and has not been able to reach him. What's the best way to proceed? That's a tax question, sort of. John, I'll give it to you.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the big question is he still in business? And okay, so if you've still got your documentation, you may be able to start with that. Otherwise, keep pestering the accountant that has your information and get that moving along. If there's any repercussions from it being filed this late, there may be some relief that he should give you for, some of these interest and penalties. Generally, what accountants will do if it's something that is our fault, we'll cover the penalties. Any interest, typically you would have to cover for yourself. But I would either, I guess do both, keep after the existing accountant and see if he can get it done, or, seek help elsewhere and get those filed as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know he's still in business because I have another friend that works with him who just got his last week. He's got all the files. He's got literally everything. So I have to get a hold of him to get them back to me to go somewhere else.
Okay.
But that's proven to be very difficult. He doesn't keep office hours. He's,
Mm.
it's just awkward. It's an awkward situation.
Yeah,
And I just,
certainly. I mean,
yeah,
I suppose the other option would be, to seek legal help and see if there's in some way that you can force the issue that way. Do you know if he's a CPA or an enrolled agent?
I believe so.
If he's a CPA, I would reach out to the state, the Department of DSPS, and basically report them and let them know what the issue is, and they may be able to exert some pressure on him as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm absolutely certain I'm not the only one of his clients that this is the case. It's a style that has over the years become, we always used to do April 15th, and then 3 years ago it became October, not on anything I wanted to do, but it was just his workload, and this year we didn't make the October. So
Okay.
yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. I hope your problem gets resolved soon. So, but good information from John. We have another question from Katie. She created her LLC in September. What responsibilities does she have for taxes? She does not have any employees. She has purchased a laundromat in Boulder Junction that I'm aware of, and she closed on December 31st. So, John, another tax question for you.
Certainly if the LLC was formed in 2025, when you applied for your federal identification number, you would have received a letter from the IRS, acknowledging, that you formed your business, giving you your federal identification number, and that should have a date on there as far as when they're expecting a tax return to be filed. And presumably that would be by March 15th of 2026, showing whatever income expenses that you might have in 25. And, even if you haven't opened the business yet, certainly you're going to have expenses that you would have incurred to that point. Attorney's fees, any fees to register the LLC, supplies, whatever you might have incurred for that business yet in 25. And depending upon what that amount is, you should be able to at least get some deduction in 25 for those startup expenses.
And she had a follow-up too that hadn't come in yet because she closed on her physical business on December 31st. Other than her regular taxes, does she have to do anything specific? Or maybe you covered that.
And I guess the other question is, if this is a single member LLC where you're the only owner, or if you have husband that is co-owner with you, you do not have to file a separate return for that. It would just be filed as part of your personal return on a Schedule C as what they call a disregarded entity. You'd still have the separate ID number for the LLC, but that would still, yes, be reported on your personal return.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. Katie, any other questions, please put them in the chat. I have a question for our other financial experts here, Dustin, Aaron, Tom. When you have entrepreneurs and business owners coming to you, what are the kinds of documents and things that you are requiring them to have? I know I talk with a lot of entrepreneurs about different varying documents to meet the requirements of these loans that you're all offering out there. Just is there a list somewhere? What do you recommend that they have ready for them to start or expand their business?
From CWED's perspective, we have an application file that has a list of all the financial information that we need. Basically, 2 to 3 years of previous tax returns, personal and business, if applicable, 3 years of financial projections for the business, a personal financial statement, basically an accounting of your personal finances, if you haven't seen that form from a bank yet. And then, our application file filled out, but typically the tax returns, personal financial statement, and the projections which are included usually in a business plan. Those are big for us, and the bank might have additional requirements.
Dustin, Aaron, how about you?
Very similar. And if I missed it, my apologies. But for like a startup, that's exactly what we'd be looking for. If it was a business acquisition, we'd also then want to see the historical financials from the business you're acquiring so we can see what the prior cash flow looked like.
Dustin, anything different?
Yeah, for the most part, I would echo that. I just, for me personally, when I run a small businesses, what I find is they're so good at doing what they do, right? Like they're a great plumber, they're a great electrician, they sell amazing clothes, they just run a great business, but sometimes they haven't gotten that business expertise. So I'd say this is another moment to work with your consultative partner, right? Because different loan programs are going to require different things, as Tom just shared, a CWED, but SBA has a laundry list of things that they're going to require on top of the banking relationship. To simple it down, what I would suggest is just what Aaron and Tom shared: at least 2 to 3 years of your business financial performance, whether that's tax returns. You should have year-to-date profit and loss statements and balance sheets, and really understand your business's finances inside and out. And then additionally, those personal financial statements to offer the additional support and projections, right? When you're looking at taking out a loan on the business side, there's a reason, right? And what I usually say is it should be generating revenue from you in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether that's buying a bigger building and expanding your ability to move, or efficiencies, or it's buying a piece of equipment, being able to do it. You want to make sure that that's going to generate revenue for you. So the projections become really important. How is it going to generate revenue? What are you going to do? How is your business going to grow from this loan? And what type of impact is it going to have on you? So that's what I would say.
And I think that's the value of our, the Vilas County Economic Development Corporation, because we can, at least here for Vilas County, we can be that one-stop shop where we can help that business owner, that entrepreneur, with their questions, whether they're looking to start or expand or buy equipment or whatever it is, because we have relationships with all of you and think you're all fabulous. And we're able to distinguish which entity might better serve their needs, or entities. As Tom mentioned with CWED, there's different entities that they work with, right? To make sure that there's a partial bank loan or another entity financing, so they're not holding all of it. So those kinds of things we're able to help navigate for entrepreneurs and business owners. Back to our financial, any of you, what is the number one question that you get from entrepreneurs or current business owners about what they're coming to you for? What do they need? Obviously, the number one question we get is, I need a grant, or I need funding. And I guess I'd like to hear from you. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs and business owners about what they should need before they walk in the door?
So I'll start. So what I hear most frequently, and it kind of goes back to what Tom had said, was, how long is it going to take, or when can I get my check? Right? Sometimes, as Tom alluded to, the process takes time. And I would just tell you, the better prepared you are. So if you're working with like the SBRC with Andy, or you're working with your banker, the best prepared people, those loans go a lot more smoother, a lot more quickly. Funds are able to fund the loan a lot faster. So just kind of set realistic expectations, I would say, as you think about, getting your business started, getting the financing and funding for your business so you can purchase equipment, have the working capital, all that stuff. Allow yourself enough time so you're not rushing. We can get things done quickly, but it's always more difficult in a stressful environment where we're trying to meet deadlines that might be somewhat unrealistic because they're so short.
So I can piggyback right on that from Aaron. So that's why we stress, have a conversation with your banker or your consultant before you even decide you need a loan. Have those conversations before you decide you're going to buy that new fancy piece of equipment, because that's what I find is half the time customers have the equipment or the real estate purchased before they've even determined if they can actually qualify for the loan or the line of credit that's going to make it happen for them. So, that's what I would say. Be prepared, be ahead of the game, and be having these conversations early with the people who are there to help you, right? Like if you have a 5-year plan to get a new building, start talking about it 2 years ago. Like that's really what we should be doing. There's things that need to be put in place, like John with the accounting situation, right? Like accountants, their job is to minimize kind of that amount of tax that you're going to have. Well, to do that, you need to show that you're making less money, but then it creates problems on the banking side when it's like, wait, where's all your money going, and how are you going to pay for this loan if you're net negative as far as your income? So it's having those conversations and really talking about this stuff long before you have a quote unquote need, so that we can make sure that you're best prepared and, to Aaron's point, ready to go when that thing actually arises, or when you find that great deal, that it's not a question mark and that you can move forward confidently.
Yeah, piggybacking on what you said, Dustin, having those conversations early can just put you in an advantageous position on what you're trying to do, because your consultant or your banker might be able to help identify a need in your business before you might, and then you can get ahead of it, and you're better prepared for the next challenge that is coming. So yeah, keep those open lines of communication.
And John, what are you seeing from any entrepreneurs, business owners?
Well, I see things from the whole spectrum, and touching on what both Dustin and Aaron had said, your consultative partners, I guess from my viewpoint, what I see as being most important, whether you're starting a business or making a big decision like buying equipment, buying real estate, whatever, always have your accountant, your banker, and your lawyer right next to you, getting things in line before you launch off into something. If you're thinking of starting a business, talk to an accountant. What records do I need to keep? What receipts should I keep? What potential tax liabilities am I going to have when I become successful, and are looking at potential tax liabilities. And Dustin, I have all my clients keep 2 sets of books, one for the government and one for the banker. So no, not really. But yeah, that is a common issue. Every year they come into me, I don't want to pay any tax. I don't want to pay any tax. And then 3 months later, they come back to me and say, yeah, I'm talking to my banker and they want to know why I'm not showing any profit. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. But yeah, and I guess launching off onto the lawyer side of things, okay, I'm buying a storefront in downtown Eagle River, and I want to put a shop in there or something, make sure you and or your lawyer reach out to your local municipality and find out if that is something that you can even do there, rather than buy the real estate and then go to the township or the city or whatever with your plans, and then have them tell you no, that's not allowed under their zoning or whatever their case may be.
And that's a good point. John, last year we did a program on zoning for business, and we invited the zoning director for Vilas County, and he was just a wealth of knowledge and really helped out a lot of entrepreneurs on that call as well. So John, getting back to you, at the beginning, you went through a lot of kind of a laundry list of what you need for 2025 and what might be coming for 2026. Is there, for the lay audience out there, the business owner, entrepreneur, is there any type of a one-stop shop where they can go get this list of what's changed, other than talking to their accountant or CPA?
Yeah, certainly, the IRS has resources available, as does the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. If you're familiar with, other accounting firms or whatever, go out to their websites. A lot of them have, resources available, checklists, updates on tax laws and so forth. I know we keep, that type of information on our website, as far as what recent tax law changes, when things are taking effect, what the changes are, and those types of things. So those would probably be your 3 best sources as to, how to get that information.
Okay. And Aaron, Dustin, Tom, anything from you guys on that? Any updates that you guys share with your clients out there, or anyone going to your websites?
I could jump in. So one of the things that we do at People's State Bank is we actually subscribe to some industry publications. It's specifically called Vertical IQ. It's a business that actually does all of the business research for us as bankers. It's a lot of important information from business specific, industry specific that myself as a banker really need to know and understand. You know, when you think of lending to a business as a lender or a bank, you really need to know and understand that business intimately. You need to understand how they make money, how they pay money, what are some of the headwinds that they're facing, what are some of the new changes from, say, the big beautiful bill or tax changes or whatever it might be. So for my customers, I have the ability to provide that to you. So if you're a new business owner and you're wanting to need to know anything and everything about opening up the new bakery, I can go out and I can pull that type of industry data and use it for myself, but more importantly, share that with you. And that's something that we do at People's State Bank free of cost. That is really helpful for business owners as they're kind of going through the business plan, figuring out projections, how much you're going to pay money relative to what the industry is paying. So a lot of the information that's out there, we have it available to us and we make it available to our customers.
Thank you. Dustin?
Yeah, as Aaron said, us as bankers, we're in the trenches right there with you. We have to learn that stuff. We have to know it. We have meetings separately with CPAs and things to learn what's coming, what's going, so that we can be that consultant for our colleagues and for those entrepreneurs and the business owners in the community. It's just maintaining the relationship, having those open conversations, knowing where everyone's sitting, and as John had mentioned, keep that trifecta together: the lawyer, the accountant, and the banker. If they're all on the same page, your life is a lot easier.
And most of them do offer some type of a free consult at the beginning, so don't be afraid to reach out. So that's good information. And I can share from personal experience in working with all of you and the other resources that we have in terms of banking and SBA and others, eFund. You're all great. And anytime I have a question on behalf of an entrepreneur, you just know what to do and where to go. So it's very appreciated with that. So as we approach 12:45 here, it seems like our questions have waned off here. So I'm going to turn it back over to our panelists just to share any final comments that we have before we leave. And we'll still have a little time left for lunch before our 1 o'clock meetings. John, I'll start with you, our tax guy.
Okay, I guess no great words of wisdom other than, obviously keep track of all your tax records. The more you can have available, the better off you're going to be. And then just, as much as you can, file timely. Unfortunately, Lynn, with your situation, that doesn't always happen. But, if you're looking for a new accountant, make sure you do some due diligence in that area. Check around with other people who they're using and so forth, to make sure that who you're with, is reputable. So that's about all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Tom, let's go to you.
Sure. I guess my final thoughts are, if you have an idea that CWED could be an option for you or could help, bring it up with your banker. You might not be working with Peoples or Associated, and your banker may not be aware of what CWED can offer. So now that you know and heard about it, bring it up with them. And, if it's something that can fit in your project and make, the cash flow look better or make the bank feel more comfortable about the deal, reach out.
It's my pleasure to serve on the CWED board, and I work with Tom and his colleagues, and they're just fabulous. So happy to always use them as a resource. Dustin, anything from you?
Yeah, I just, as Tom reiterated there, just have a relationship with your banker. Everyone's scared to talk to the bankers. They think they're going to tell them to get a loan or force them into something or sell them some new fancy banking product. But when we're on the business side of things, that's really not what we're here for. We're here to help your business be successful, whatever that may be, whether it's making a connection with a CWED or an entrepreneur fund or an economic development center or a business like the SBDC to help you grow your business and understand it. We're really meant to be there to help you. And sometimes that will include a shiny new object, or John had said it before, we might make a suggestion that you didn't think of that could help your business that we've seen another business utilizing or taking advantage of. So it's just maintain a really good relationship. So, a lot of the people on here already have a business and they probably already have a bank that they've been working with. But if you don't have a banker, somebody that you can trust, that you can go in and talk to, that you can share your goals and visions with, that can then also provide you valuable feedback, my suggestion would be go find a new one.
Dustin, thank you. To your point, because we have so many wonderful partners that we work with out there, one of these days I'm going to have an actual event where you can meet all of them. I'll have all the financial experts in one room and they can all share their information, and you'll have a chance to meet them. So it's on my list, and we'll get that done one of these days. So, and then finally, last but not least, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you. So, a lot of what Dustin talked about, 100% agree. Your banker is your subject matter expert, at least they should be. When you have a problem with your car, you can YouTube it, try to diagnose it yourself, but you're probably better off going to an actual certified mechanic. That's really kind of what the banker is we're the subject matter expert. We're here for you. In my career, helping is selling. So if I'm helping you, I'm successful, you're successful. The one thing I would add to kind of wrap up, we talked a lot about loans today, but there's a whole nother piece to, that relationship with your banker that you as a business owner need to think about. It doesn't take maybe as much time, but it is something better done before you open versus after you open. And that's really thinking about, how is money going to flow into and out of your business? So getting your accounts set up, making sure you got things like treasury management services set up, getting your accountant logged into online banking so that they can easily upload your financials, make that whole piece easy for you. Whether there's something you need with accepting credit cards or different payments, all that kind of stuff. It's a conversation with your banker. Help them understand what that ideal situation in regards to how money's flowing in and out of your business, and just make sure that you're having that conversation with them in addition to the loan. That way, then once you get set up, you got your funding taken care of and you got your deposit relationships all taken care of.
Yeah, great point. And I know that clearly all of our business owners up here in the Northwoods experienced, that money flow and those savings issues 2 years ago when we didn't have any snow up here and we had that economic drought. So I think understanding your finances, and not just to open, but to maintain your business and all the things you might need down the road. So we do have all those conversations, but that's just a great point to reiterate. So, well, thank you, John and Aaron, Tom, and Dustin, for your time today. All great information. So please tell your colleagues we're all here to help them with any of their financial questions. If they need resources, we're happy to share that. So that's what we're here for. So with that, we'll do more programming in February. Stay tuned for that. And I wish everyone a good afternoon and stay warm.